This is a Remington Rolling Block, an Argentine model 1879 specifically. It's chambered in 43 Spanish. These 10 cartridges were made from 5110 brass. I have a recent video on swaging down 5110 to make 11mm Mauser, with 43 Spanish being a very similar cartridge, though with a slightly larger base diameter. That same process makes a lot of sense here. Out of the 4 swaging rings used previously, I used the first 3 to get the brass to around a 520 base diameter. Then came the now familiar process of thickening the rim, though with the large rim diameter of 43 Spanish, I didn't need to trim it down at all. I did have to turn the necks of the cases though. The 5110 brass is thick, measuring around 15 thousandths, compared to the 10 to 12 thousandths that most cases are. I found that the Argentine Rolling Block has a tight chamber, after the cases had already been loaded. I carefully turned a few thousandths off on the lathe, though that may not be necessary for all rifles chambered in 43 Spanish. Note that these cases are the original 43 Spanish, sometimes referred to as bottleneck. These are not the later straight tapered reformado cases. I don't have any experience with those, though they may be able to be made from 5110 as well. I loaded these 43 Spanish cases with 70 grains of 2F powder. The extra case capacity of the 5110 brass easily fits that much, with just dumping it in. Let's see how they shoot. When experimenting with cartridge conversions like this, it's not always how they shoot, more often it's how well they extract. And that extracted very easily. Other than being more defined at the shoulder, the case looks about the same as before. I'll call the 5110 brass conversion a success. I'll shoot the rest of them now. That's 9 shots. I'm left with 1, which is good because I want to use it to compare against another way to make 43 Spanish brass. And that's this. It's a 4590 case, sleeved with a piece of thin wall brass tubing to increase the body diameter. The tubing goes from the rim to just below the shoulder. The idea is that upon firing, the small piece of exposed shoulder will expand, further working to hold down the sleeve. I wish I could claim I used nickel-plated brass to show the difference between the case and the sleeve, but the reality is that the nickeled brass is all that I had on hand. The smooth nickel is actually a bad thing, because right now all that's holding these together is friction. The process to make these involves cutting the sleeve to length, slipping it down onto the 4590 case, then running both together in a regular 43 Spanish sizing die. I found that once sized about halfway, the sleeve is stuck tight to the 4590 brass. I did have to swage just the very bottom of the sleeve, since the sizing die doesn't reach all the way down to the rim. From there, the rim is thickened, but that's the extent of the work required. Again, there's no trimming of the rim, but unlike the 5110, there's no work needed on the primer pockets, and the thinner 4590 brass doesn't need the neck to be turned to fit into the tight Argentine chamber. I probably have around 8 to 10 minutes invested into each case made from 5110. The sleeved 4590, on the other hand, each took probably about 5 minutes. That's the major advantage here. The downsides: 1. The reduced case capacity. I was only able to fit 65 grains of powder. Again, that's with just simply dumping the powder in. If I used a drop tube, I could fit more in, but I could also fit more in the 5110 brass as well. The second disadvantage is durability. In theory, a sleeved case is not as durable as a one-piece case, but I won't know if that's a concern or not until I shoot it. That's why I saved these for last. Again, shooting isn't a concern. It's if these will extract or not. The sleeve could have expanded and stuck to the chamber walls. Meanwhile, the extractor could rip the bare 4590 case out of the stuck sleeve. Let's see what happens. And that's still in one piece. The shoulder is nicely expanded. Not that I thought I can get these apart, but they're stuck together tight. I have 4 more of the sleeved cases loaded, plus the one remaining 5110 that'll save for last. If all of the sleeved 4590 cases hold together, I can call this a success as well. All of the sleeved 4590 cases held together just fine. It's a small sample, but it shows this idea has merit. Looking at the chronograph data, the average speed of all the shots is 1260 feet per second. There's not much variation between the min and max speeds. Looking at the individual shots, number 15 was with 70 grains, 14 down to 10, with a 4590 brass with 65 grains. Those are actually a bit faster despite there being less powder, interestingly enough. The target does show some vertical stringing, mostly due to me, not the rifle or ammo likely. Both methods to create 43 Spanish worked. Feeding, shooting, and extraction all worked as expected. And because both cases were sized tight to the chamber, there's no drastic expansion, which can cause splitting. With both working well though, which is better? I think they both have their place, depending on what starting brass and materials you have on hand. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.